Okay, so we're looking at Nasdaq here. So we did have a bounce this week after like 1, 2, 3 like bad weeks, and then we started this week also bad. If you go to the daily chart, you can see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it hit a bottom, and it found support at 13,000 level. So that's a key number right there. And you know, just because it's a nice round number, it also undercut the previous low. So this formed what we call a double bottom pattern. So when we look at stock chart, we should see almost similar pattern. And you know, so that's, you know, will be relative. And if it has a pattern that's stronger than this, that means it's probably performing a much better. If we have a chart that performs weaker than this pattern, then that means it's probably a weaker stock, right? So we'll watch for this pattern as we look at stocks. And like I say, you know, we should see a double bottom here. So, you know, so basically what it means is a lower high here and then a lower low here. And then we look at charts that basically, you know, doesn't have that pattern, right? Like that has better pattern. So meaning you could have a higher high here, for example, right here on the low side, higher low. And even some chart might be even stronger. They might have a higher high in the second down here. So so again, we'll look at relative strength line when we're comparing later. Those are the things that will tell us that the stocks are acting a lot better. And obviously, any stocks that are hitting new highs right now are probably going to be the leaders, right? Just because they have been able to withstand a market correction in the last almost 2 months, right? So so this is a very good what they call garden variety correction. And if I'm going to jump to it right now just because I think this chart is actually quite important. So here we can see this is a chart by MarketSmith, and they were comparing Nasdaq 2003 versus 2023. And we have a very similar pattern, at least based on the analysis, is that, you know, we have a run from like, you know, starting around April or May to you know, end of June, and then we have a peak in July somewhere. So very similar. And then we have a pullback at that time was 76.6%. It was also a double bottom pattern. And then here we have a much bigger correction, 10.3% correction. So Nasdaq actually dropped, you know, below 10%, a little bit, and then like I said, we found bounce here, right, 13,000. This chart is slightly a few days old, but that was Wednesday, and you can see very similar pattern. And if we close the year end strong in the fourth quarter here, then we should see a bounce here, you know, with some another pullback around somewhere around mid or early October. So that's kind of like the trend here. So I feel like this might happen just because of how similar this year has been to that time. So something to pay attention to. Any questions on that?
No.
All right. So we're gonna look at one thing as well. This is the stochastics, right? So here we have this kind of like oscillator telling us, you know, how, like it can be seen as a overbought, oversold condition. And here we have a bottom here, and we make a bottom here, and then now we have another bottom. And look at this bottom is actually slightly higher, so there's a little bit of divergence here. So again, it shows that the market has you know, didn't want to sell anymore. So now we see this rebound, and so that's what we're seeing. So this is a good sign, you know, in terms of the stochastics. And so if we come back to just make this chart bigger. So another important thing is we have much stronger volume on Wednesday and Thursday on the bounce, and you know, so that is really good sign. You can see it's like almost higher than the last week's volume on the sell-off right here. So that's also another good sign. We did, you know, on Friday again, it started off very strong on the inflation number on the PCE, but then it kind of weakens over the day during the day as Congress decide to, cancel I think a meeting to vote for the House bill to I don't know which bill it is, but it's related to the shutdown. So most likely the government will shut down, so that's probably the reason why the market kind of weakens throughout the day on Friday, and we probably will see another Monday, Tuesday. We'll probably see a little bit more weakness. Hopefully we'll see that bounce or follow through day. So now, if you follow IBD, they're basically looking for a follow through day on the 4th day or more or later since the bottom. So here's the bottom, and as long as we don't undercut this low here at any given day after the 4th day, as long as it bounce higher on stronger volume, at least usually for Nasdaq is at least 1.25% or higher, then we consider that a follow through day. So we need to see like a day higher volume day to signify that a trend may have changed. So that's kind of like so a lot of people probably are gonna hold off buying until that day happens, just because that will give you a lot more conviction. So that's the key here. Again, we'll look at a lot of growth stocks, especially in the Nasdaq area, to see how they're acting. Again, we're looking for chart patterns that are much stronger than this. Those are probably going to be your leaders. If we jump to S&P, it's very similar. The number line, this is a long trend line right here. I have it here as a black line. It's 4,200, and it did, it didn't come close to it. So a lot of people are looking for support here, and it did, and it bounced off, again, slightly above 4,200, and then again, Wednesday, Thursday bounce on stronger volume right here, and so again, this is more clear. The volume is much higher on those 2 days of bounce than the previous week, and Friday again, we have this bounce like reverse right on Friday morning, and then coming back down again. Nothing wrong with that. It's just give back a little bit because of that shutdown news. So we're still far away from this low, like at least 1 or 2%, 1 point something percent. So as long as the market doesn't undercut that low, we have a chance of a follow through day, and that follow through day will be very important. So we're expecting that to come in the next week. Usually we want follow through days to happen very quickly. Those are the signs of a better rally. We'll look at Dow, same thing. This one, undercut the 200-day, and I think so. Here's 33,000 level, and so it didn't come to 33,000 level. A lot of people are looking for that level of support, so that's a good sign. Now again, it did give back more than the other two index on Friday, so so Dow is definitely a little bit weaker, and then we'll look at Russell, and then Russell again is still, so Russell very interesting. I feel like Russell, I believe, so Tuesday closed at a low, Wednesday it bounced. It was performing slightly better than S&P. You can see it's hard to tell, but the relative strength line here, even though it's very small, it actually like went up, because what happened was Wednesday, Thursday, it actually outperformed S&P. But you have to understand, this is the weakest index of all. So when there's a rally, it tends to outperform S&P as well. So it kind of goes both ways, right? So when the S&P going down, this one will perform worse, and then when S&P going up, it tends to also perform better. So again, for Russell right now, I would say, in general, it's the weakest index. But if the market were to rally from here, then Russell will probably outperform, just because it has a lot more to catch up than those other indexes, right? So because it's pretty far from the highs, right? So so that's usually how it happens. So the small caps guys are, again, I'm more diversified, so my portfolio has a lot more small caps, and so just because I have more stocks, and so this is where my portfolio usually shine when the Russell do better. Okay, so that's that. Let me go to my notes. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So we're gonna look at the equal weight as well, because I think this is probably the true indicator. If you look at RSP equal weight S&P 500, this chart is probably, you can see, it's definitely a lot weaker than the S&P regular chart, and you can see we are much more near the bottom here, and again we found, you know, a round number here as a support line again. So you know, we want to make sure the rally is if there is a rally, it needs to be broad. It needs to, you know, not just a small group of stocks, right? Because it's not going to have a strong rally, or even just the Magnificent Seven. Like, we have to have a broader, and so the equal weight will tell you, hey, are we going to have a broader rally? And so that's something we also want to look for. If this were to bounce back, that will be a very strong, good sign for most stocks, right? And unless you're really a good stock picker, then yeah, you don't need to care about this. But if you are, you know, just like most people, buying a handful of stocks and, you know, trying to hold it for the rally, you probably, you know, need to see this broaden from this perspective. And also it usually means a better rally too, that lasts longer. So for example, like right here, you can see this period, right, from mid-May to mid-July. You know, this is a very strong rally. A lot of stocks went up, right? So that's something we want to pay attention to. And then we go look at equal weight Nasdaq. You know, this one you can see also, like, you know, it undercuts it. So this one is actually, the chart looks very more similar to Nasdaq, surprisingly. So that's a good sign. So like I say, I think Nasdaq in general probably is going to act better going forward. You know, and so this one also have a much longer stretch of you know, run here. So that's probably a good sign as well. So let's see. And also it's you know, this is a very tight, like, I don't know, maybe the chart looks more squished, but it looks more tighter than the S&P, right? So it's yeah, so it seems to me like this is just a better chart, a lot better chart. So I think Nasdaq stock might have better you know, opportunity here, I think. So those are the two equal weight index. Okay, so we still have to look at, you know, the yield. You know, this week I think it's very interesting. So Wednesday, even though yield went up, the market rebound that day. So that was very interesting. And then Thursday, you can see it hit another high, and then market still went up that day, but it did close down here. So, and then Friday it bounced back from the 10-day, and then market reversed. So it looks like, you know, the correlation is still there, but it's starting to be a little bit more distraught, meaning like it doesn't follow day to day anymore. So, you know, we want to pay attention to this to make sure it just doesn't, like, we did hit a new high this week. So again, the fact that market was able to close mostly like, you know, higher this week and not drop more is another sign of, like, you know, probably the market is done selling, right? So this is you know, a good sign in terms of that relative. So this is 10-year yield. And then we look at let's look at US or the dollar. Again, same, it's very similar, right? Again, now it's a 10-day. So this one actually didn't bounce on Friday, so that's interesting. So if dollar, you know, break this 10-day, I think the market will go nicely, right? So we'll see if that happens. You know, it does look like a very toppy pattern here, but it's hard to say. I guess the volume is much lower on Thursday and Friday. So you know, we'll see if it does bounce off this again, then like I say, market might have more trouble. And then the last one is the oil, right? Sorry, this is the oil. Sorry, I completely put on the wrong chart. They look so similar. Okay, so same thing with dollar here. Yeah, so still above 10-day. But let's come back to oil. I think the oil story is interesting. Like I said, it did close. It's the only one that closed down on Friday, like at the bottom. So, you know, the dollar and the yield still, it didn't close at the bottom, but this one did. And many oil stocks got hit hard on Friday, which is very interesting, you know, especially at the end of the week, close hard. So we want to watch this, because if the oil stocks start to top and the oil price start to top, that is going to be a good sign for inflation, right? And so that would help the the growth stocks in general, and also the economy in general. So that's something we want to watch going forward. So yeah, so I probably will be taking profit this week on some of the oil stocks I have, just because they have run quite a while now. Some of the stocks I hold, like like Weatherford, continue to go higher. You can see now it's starting to top. Look at this. This is relatively weaker now. So we saw the oil chart, right? It make a new high here, but it didn't, right? It stopped. You see. So now this is a divergence. So most likely Weatherford is has topped. FTI is another one in the same category. So similar. You see. Look at this, right? So it did make a newer high divergence here. So again, most likely this is like a classic top pattern, because of the divergence, right? So there's lots of oil stocks that this week I feel like okay, let's look at TDW. Let's see. Okay, so this one is probably the strongest oil stock in the market. This one, but you can see it make a newer high. So this could be the one stock that, like, really doesn't follow the pattern as much in terms of the overall feel, but it could fall. Like, every growth stock eventually falls. So I don't know. We'll see. Another one in this area is oceaneering. So this one again, it did fall back down. So we'll see, right? Like, but these two are probably pretty strong. So but like if I look at the bigger guys, Lumberjay, yeah, you can see this one already. Like, look at how fast it came down to the 50-day below it. Like, like it took 2 weeks to hold this area, and then when it fall, it just took 1 day. So those are signs of like really bad technicals, right? Similarly, Halliburton here, right? Look at this run here, right? Only, like, look at how many days it stayed at this level, right? And all of a sudden it only took 1 day just to break that level, all these levels here. So this is signs of topping, because people want to get out, and you can see the volume right here, just humongous, right? So so like I say, I feel like so that's why Dan Niles, he's one of the analysts that I respect quite a bit, because this year he was able to make a lot of tactical calls, and even though he's more of a bear still, but he does a lot of short and long trades at the same time. And he's saying, watch the oil. He believes the oil is gonna be the key thing in terms of how the market move forward. And so just watch the oil. If it tops, then there's room for stocks to move up and stuff like that, especially high beta area stock. And he covered a lot of his shorts, I think, this week, he said, right? So so that's very interesting. So and again, looking at the oil story, I think this is very important for growth stocks, and also in general for the whole economy. So something to pay attention to. So this is the index that hold a lot of the Magnificent Seven. I don't know this, but this was something brought up on IBD. So they say, like, this chart, you see, it looks very similar to Nasdaq. So so right here again, so you see, like, the Magnificent Seven are up, 3 days in a row, and Friday it was able to hold. So that's really good sign. So let's if this trend continues, that'll be good. But you can see the trend line right here coming down. It came back to that trend line. So again, we need to see that hold above the trend lines for it to be really considered a breakout from that trend line. But Friday it reversed, so it didn't really count. So here's the Wix chart. So we did make a higher high here this week. So that's important, I feel. It's not really high, but it's high enough, like, compared to this whole area. It obviously didn't hit this high here, but yeah, but I think but at least it did come out and create this volatility, probably create a lot of fear, You know, so we'll have to see, right? So let's jump to some of the fear index here. So for example, this AI investment survey. So you can see the bullish sentiment this week on Wednesday was quite low, 27%. Historically, let me see. Does it say? Okay, yeah. So historically, it's 37.5%. It doesn't say the low here, but you know, it has dropped from 42% a month ago to now 27%. Look at the bears; it jumped to 40%. And you know, again, the average is 31%. So you know, it's not at the highest. Like 58% was the highest here this year. Yeah, like bullish was the highest at 51. Yeah, so it's still, you know, quite. And then on CNN greed fear index, it's at fear level now, but it was you know, extreme fear a couple of days ago. When it was at the bottom here. So yeah, so it's definitely lots of fear. That's I guess that's my point. And lots of people have sold. So we'll see. Look at all these indicators. Price strength, extreme fear. Price breadth, you know, a lot of stocks sold off, like overall, extreme fear. Put options, look at that, extreme fear, right? Volatility is neutral. You know, demand in difference in 20-day stock and bond returns, extreme fear. Yeah, so lots of fear indicators. Yeah, and then we'll jump to you know, the Fed Atlanta Fed GDP estimate. It's still near 4.9% for this quarter. You know, so that's really strong. So because of this, I feel like, you know, as the earnings report come up for this quarter starting in October, you know, hopefully we'll see some rebound in earnings, and that will help the market for sure. So that's why I think seasonally this year has been very similar, like just like that 2003 chart, very similar to that chart. And you know, seasonally is also like we usually close into the last quarter, like, you know, I think they say on average it's usually up like 4%. So that's a really strong quarter. Like that's the strongest quarter usually in general. So we definitely want to stay invested, and you know, unless I feel like there's something macro news that no one knows about and all of a sudden surprise everyone. Unless you know, if there's no new news, I wouldn't, you know, be too fearful, especially now that the market is already oversold. This coming week we have let me see, ISM manufacturing job openings. I think that will be also very important Tuesday, because the market has been paying attention to this recently, especially it just shows, like, you know, whether the economy, like in general, are people hiring or not. And so it has been decreasing for like more than 6 months now. So if this continue to decrease, it really means that the trend has changed in the economy. You know, and then we're going to have unemployment numbers for sure on Friday. But there's some talking about that if the government shut down, they might not release this number. So so we'll have to see if that's true. I don't know if it's true. But if the U.S. government shut down, they said they won't release this number. So again, we'll see. Yeah. So that's the big report this week. Let me go back to my notes here. So yeah, we'll just do a quick recap. Monday, you know, they did bounce off a little bit, and then Tuesday, yeah, it undercut Monday's low, killing the one-day rally attempt. So it was still going down. So here's, it already say it may hit 13,000, and then Nasdaq did hit 13,000. NVDA continued to hold above 1400. So let's jump to it right now, because I feel like that's a very, you know, Jim Robel always used this saying. He said, you know, if NVIDIA goes, everything else goes, right? So So same thing. I think if market wants to rally, NVIDIA would be one of the first ones to rally. So let me move all the markups for a second. So yeah, it has been more, like, again, let's look at the W-shaped pattern, right? Here's the pattern, and we have a higher high. So this is performing relative strength better here, but it did fall back down, and then again we have a higher low. So this is telling me this is acting a lot better than the general market, and hence you see the relative strength leading. And also, like, look at Friday, right? Like most, like say a lot of growth stock I monitored were holding a lot stronger than I thought on Friday. So this is one of them. It actually holds this 21-day line pretty good. I would have expected to come back down to 10-day, but it didn't. So this is a strong sign. So meaning, again, relative strength going up, right? So we were close to 50-day. If we pass 50-day, I would expect a lot of volume. Institutions will be piling in, and probably, who knows, because NVIDIA is such a big stock, that could be the day of the follow-through day. And so again, it looks like this is performing better than the general market, right? So NVIDIA is definitely a key, good stock to pay attention to. Yeah, S&P tried to test the 4,200 level. Some of the stocks we mentioned. Yeah, and then Wednesday, can't remember what happened here. The yield continued to go up as we saw earlier. Okay, so yeah, the AIA survey, it jumped quite, at least the bearish fall. And Thursday, some reports, earnings report. Friday, okay, so Friday is a consumer. So the excluding food and energy, it rose 1.1%, which is below the 0.2% increase. So that's why the core inflation number is slightly better. And then year over year, it's in line, which is 3.9% now. So it was below 4% finally. So all this good news. Yeah, but as soon as the House failed to have enough votes, or the Republicans, to pass the spending bill, a shutdown will take effect by Sunday. So Goldman Sachs estimate it will likely last 2 to 3 weeks. Friday's job report and the inflation number may not be released on time. Credit rating agency Moody may also downgrade their rating. So that's, the market did react to that. The last, I don't remember, last one was Fitch, I think, their downgrade. So we, so this could be a bad day if this happened too. So something to watch out for. Other than that, that's pretty much my notes here. So we're gonna jump into stocks now. So this is the I tracked the IBD big picture. We're still in market correction. The market did not see much accumulation this week again. You can see there's still a lot of distribution, which is not a good sign. So even though the market rebound, started to rebound Wednesday, Thursday, we didn't see enough accumulation. So that's something I think to be worried about, because I always like to see more volume, right? That's what accumulation is. Even though if a stock rebound but it's on lower volume, it really doesn't count, right? Because it just doesn't show enough strength. So this is something that I'm a little bit still worried about. I pay more attention this coming week. And so if we have a follow through day, that's what we're looking for. I would expect there's a lot more accumulation, and so in the last 3.5 weeks, we really haven't seen any accumulation much. Actually, yeah, 4 weeks now. And then that was the last week was August. We see a lot more accumulation, but things could change. You never know. So that's something, like I say, we want to pay attention to. And also that will help broaden the market breadth as well. So that's yeah, that reminds me, we should probably look at Yeah, another way to look at the market graph is look at the advanced decline line here, measure the number of stocks going up versus down, and you can see like we did hit a bottom actually on S&P on Tuesday, which is interesting. Again, I feel like S&P is acting pretty good. And Wednesday, Thursday, Friday came back down a little bit. Nasdaq, yeah, look at Nasdaq also bottom on Tuesday, which is interesting because Wednesday it didn't make a new low. So again, the little bit of the divergence there compared to the index. So this one has gone up also 4 days in a row. So that's also a good sign, right? Again, we talk about this a while now. You can see from since you know, can't see the timeline here, but probably like July or something. Since this correction started to happen, you can see how it just keep going down and make new lows and make new lows, right? So that was a bad sign, right, for the market. But if the market were to improve, we should see this, like, you know, perform even better than the market index. So that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing, you know, market actually bottom on Wednesday, but it actually start to bounce on Tuesday. So that tells you that probably less people want to sell. You know, that's really what it measures, how many stocks go down in price versus go up in price. So I think that's an important indicator too. So this section here is what I do every week on the IBD screen. They have a stocks on the move screen, and I monitor them every day. You know, these are probably the best of the best stocks here that move on volume, and you know, you can see a lot of tech stocks are bouncing this week. So I think that's a good sign. Yeah, so there's a lot more tech stocks bouncing. A lot of stocks are starting to bounce. Retail is the second column, you know, and then third column is industrials. Health still very weak, you can see. And then energy is still, like, overall this week, right? They have bounced. So, but like I said, Friday they close week, so is that a topping sign? We'll have to see, right? And then financial also some. So obviously, you know, the tech are the ones that dominate. We'll look at techs because I think they look really good. So is it look at this list, and like I say, we'll get we'll see some patterns here. So like ACLS. Okay, let's just jump to ACLS from here. I'm gonna look at the weekly chart instead. So yeah, most of them are on a downtrend pattern, as you can see, and then you can see this week it bounced from the bottom, right, and it closed near the top. So that to me is a good sign. You know, is this a bottom? Really, no one knows, but it's at least a good sign to start with, right? And so that's what we're seeing. And Adobe, this one is trying to bounce, but I feel like it's a little bit weaker than others. So I don't know why, because this was I liked this stock before it corrected, and now, I mean, it's not bad. It's just you know, a little bit weaker than I want it to be. So but there's a lot more other ones that are doing better. ANET. So ANET. Okay, let me put back on my markups here. Yeah, so you can see it's starting to bounce and it make a higher high. So this is another thing that I'm looking for, is it should make a higher high this week than the previous week, and it did. So that's a good sign. Basically, it means that you know, there's more buying, right? And you can see the volume here also really low on the selling side, like, you know, so very interesting. I think ANET has lots of potential. Again, we're looking for patterns, right? So look at this pattern here. We have, you know, we didn't have a W-shaped pattern. Instead, we have like this correction here. It went to a new high, and then it pulled back, and now it's time to rebound, right? So this is like a higher high and a higher low, right? And those are the leaders, right? So that's why I feel like this one. And look at the relative strength. What did he do in the last month? It just, you know, make new high already. So that's a good sign. ANET is a good one. app. This guy has been running for a while. It finally pulled back again. This is you know, a rebound of the 50-day you know, classic bounce. And look at this guy. It's just been, it never came even close to the 50-day. This is probably the closest it came to in this whole run right here. And you can see, right, it never came to it. This is like, even this, it didn't touch it. Look at that. This is amazing, right? This stock. I missed it. This run right here. Hopefully, if it goes again, yeah, I'm on it right now. So let's see if this can continue. This is probably one of the stock that no one talks about, but it is one of the stronger performer out there. C-Day, CDNS. Let's look at some of the, okay, so we have to talk about Duolingo. This one, okay, again, we're looking for a chart pattern here. So we did have, so this one corrected earlier than the general market, and it formed a W-shaped pattern. So the market did form a W-shaped pattern, but it actually started like right here, whereas this one started earlier. And so now it has finished its W-shaped pattern, and it has broken out. And even if you look at the classic W-shaped breakout, is right here. And so it broke out this week, and so everyone's talking about it. This could be the leader this time, and it probably will be. I think, you know, this pattern is very, like, almost perfect to the T. And look at all these volumes that are on the updates, right? There's no selling volume. Right, look at that selling volume. Like, it hasn't have an above average day of selling volume in 2 months. So that's something. Okay, so we have Duolingo. Another one, ESTC. Okay, so again, we're looking for chart patterns, and again, what are they doing, right? So here, this guy, same thing as Duolingo. It actually started correcting before the general market did, and it formed this you know, not perfect W-shaped pattern, but it did form a W. It broke out of this W, and then it has been climbing up now 5 weeks in a row. Again, this has to do a lot with Splunk, because they're in the same area doing Elasticsearch database, and so you know, it also have really strong earnings. You know, that was the reason why it went up at first, but then it also went up because of the Splunk news. So it has been holding strong. It's been going up, and it broke out. And so again, this is you know, you can see the relative strength. Let me clear the relative strength line right here. You can probably, it's hard to see, but it's like going straight up. Like, this is another stock that is just showing lots of strength. Like Duolingo, same thing. You look at this relative strength line. It's just straight up, right? So these are the stocks that have potential. Here's the 20% gain profit here. It just broke out. Go back to ESTC. It doesn't draw in here, but if we start from the high here, so it just broke out. You know, so probably around, yeah, probably to this previous high is where that 20% profit is. So those stocks have broken out. Something, that's why I did mark on my notes. Those are probably the strongest one. Another one. This is computer software financial. It hasn't broke out yet, but it kind of tried to on Friday, and it closed at the top. So I, you know, I'm watching this stock. I think you know, this is, you know, something that's smaller, but it has really strong. Like, usually the smaller caps are more volatile, right? You can see the chart; it's more volatile, but it is showing, you know, relative strength really strong as well. So, okay, let's look at some of the big caps. Google. So it climbed back above 50-day line. Again, what is the W-shaped pattern here? It comes down a little bit, goes up, comes down. So it did make a high here. So again, it's outperforming the market, and therefore RS rating is high. Relative strength rating is higher. Let's look at other ones. Microsoft. Microsoft did close a little bit red. It did bounce, so slightly weaker. Again, you can see the relative strength line is kind of neutral. Let's look at Apple. I think Apple is probably the weaker one. Yeah, see, look. So there's lots of analysts hate on Apple this week, hey? Did you, I don't know if you follow. It make new low. This is very bad. It did bounce here. We'll see if it holds. But look at the, this is like exactly the opposite. Look at all those higher volume days. It's all red. Look at that. All these higher volume days are red. Lots of analysts hate on Apple this week. Basically saying their value too high. Their sales are just, you know, not as strong as they used to be. So a lot of analysts are starting to give up on this stock, which is very interesting. So we'll see. It is on a really steep downtrend line. But you know, we'll see if it continues this downtrend or not. So yeah, but it's not acting well. This chart. It's one of the few stocks that actually, you know, didn't close at the top. For a growth stock anyway. It's probably not a growth stock anymore. Let's look at Tesla. Okay, so Tesla come back to the 50-day line. So that's a good sign. And let's look at the daily chart here. Yeah, you know, there's some selling. You know, but it's holding on. It's kind of neutral right now. You can see the RS rating is kind of a little bit flat here. So but it has a nice cup with handle base. But this, you know, again, the key area is this trend line here, whether it can bounce above it. Probably it will. It does follow the market pretty well. So yeah, Amazon. Yeah, Amazon is kind of, yeah, it's trying to bounce back, but it's also weak. It's last week was really detrimental. This 1 week of selling, I don't like that. Like it's you know, anytime it give up one, like, you know, it's the ratio thing, right? A proportionate ratio thing. You know, it built a 5-week base and it only took 1 week to undercut the low. That's like really negative, you know. So I don't like that. So I don't know. It's the prime day is coming up, so I don't know. It might get some bullish sentiment, but I don't know. It just doesn't look very strong to me, this chart. So Meta is probably the strongest one. Yeah, well, strongest in terms of like how well he's been holding. Like look at this RS rating. It's just been going up slowly, but most of them are falling, right? Even here. So again, if you try to find the W shape, you couldn't find it. Instead, you have this like new high here, and then here's the you know, here's the correction, and then it bounced back, right? It is still at the 50-day line, so look at how tight this is trading. This is crazy tight. No one wants to sell, despite, you know, but there is some selling. It's just not enough to push it down. You see, that's actually a good sign, right? Because, you know, people want to sell, but yet it wouldn't go down. So from a price action, it's actually bullish. And look at this RS rating, right? So I think Meta, like even Jim Ropel is like starting to say, man, this stock is just starting to look like a rock star. So so yeah, he's paying attention to it. If it comes out this base, he's gonna be, you know, looking into this. So yeah, they did announce some of the news this week about their, I think it was this week, right? About their VR stuff and some other stuff. I didn't pay attention, so, but anyhow. Okay, let's look at hubs. Yeah, same idea here. Most of the stocks looks like this, like almost like a W-shaped pattern. So you know, you can almost a new low here, and then it's bouncing. So again, most of them are bouncing right now. So that's, like I said, that's a good sign. We just have to hopefully. So this one is definitely one of the weaker one. Intel, it was a strong performer. Now it's starting to fall apart, and you can see it's just getting discouraged by this 50-day line here. But you know, if it does break out above this 50-day line, I think it's probably a good enough of a correction that it can start to come back up. Yeah. So next one, IoT, it's still correcting. So yeah, so we'll have to wait for that one. Let's see. And okay, MongoDB. I think MongoDB, you know, it is below the, you know, a lot of stocks are below the 50-day line, right? So that's something to watch out for. And so we have to come above this 50-day line. Usually that's a better risk reward ratio. Again, we are bouncing right now, but 1 week doesn't mean much. We have to follow through on it, and you know, we have to again pass this. I think again the day, I think most of these stocks will pass the 50-day line, will be on the follow through day, and that will be a good sign that day. But we have to see that happen. Monday. So again, it's bouncing on the right. Let's see if it can. It's very similar pattern. They all have very similar pattern. NCNO. Here you go. You have a bounce. So this one has a slightly higher high right here than this high right here. So it is slightly performing better relatively, and you can see the RS rating there. So hopefully that will you know, this is very near new high too. Let's come back to the daily chart. So here you go. This is the top here, and so this one might actually, you know, although this one didn't, it's more volatile, right? So that's something you have to be cautious about if you're going to trade this one. But it has been trading very tight in general since this one big update. I don't know what the news is, but it did. And then it's been stuck in this range. So if it were to break out, I would see it probably can move pretty fast. Next one is Cloudflare Net. Again, it's been building this base. It's now trying to come out here again. Let's see if it does. And ServiceNow, similar pattern. You can see it's forming. Hopefully it can come out as well. Next one. So this is the Chinese gaming stock, NTES. A rebound. I mean, it's okay. Yeah. Next one, Nutanix. This one is acting really strong. Look at this. It's already broken out, right? And you know, this is active. You know, new high right here. It's trying to bounce. It didn't. You know, it couldn't go higher. And let's look at the daily action. So here it is. So so even though this is a highest volume day, but it didn't close at the bottom. So that's a good sign. Volume starting to dry. Let's see. It's holding this short-term average really well. So it's digesting right now. So let's see if it can bounce again, right, and go high. But overall, this chart is, look at the relative strength. Really strong. Okta. Okay, so the security stocks are acting really well, in my opinion. I think most of them are, like I said, like they're, you know, they're near the higher level. Than most stocks are in the bottom half of the base, right? So this is at the top half of the base. This is like a nice cup base right here, and this is like near the top. Look at daily chart. See, it came up so strong, it digested. Again, it's trying to move right now, but it's having some difficulty. But still, it's overall it looks a lot better. Another one's CrowdStrike. So you can see, look at CrowdStrike, right? Almost again near new high. Yeah, let's look at Palo Alto. Okay, Palo Alto is probably the weakest one in this group, but it's still, even then, it's still above the 50-day line. Zscaler. Look at this one, came out on Friday. So again, near new high. So all these stocks are near the new highs, which is very interesting. So something to pay attention to, I feel like. Another one, QLYSI, right? So this is, yeah. So holding really tight above 50-day, very good sign. Shopify, this one has like kind of weakened recently quite a bit, but it did have a nice bounce here Thursday and Friday. So I we'll see, right? Like it's you know, again, it has the same pattern like most stocks. So it's just, you know, neutral. It's not relatively stronger. Yeah, S&PS. Yeah, so this one is again trying to make new high now, so it looks good. Another one in this area is CDNS. Okay, so this one also bounce. XPXC, yeah, also bouncing. This workday is probably the one that is I don't remember. I think I can't remember the news, but it basically dropped a lot this week. And this is why sometimes, you know, you want to be careful about when you buy, because if you think this was the bottom and you bought it here, you get knocked out, right? Because it was like over 10% drop that day. So it's always good to, like I said, like, you know, most IBD people, they draw a trend line down along the 10-day. Usually is where I draw it, and you can see that trend line, the slope of that trend line going down. I usually don't try to buy it early, but I'm sure there's people, you know, but after this big drop, you can see people are piling in, right? And then it found support at 200 days. So that's another big support area. It's a 200 day. So now it's trying to slowly, as this thing comes down, it will probably meet this line, and then we'll see how it reacts when it tries to come near that 10-day. Either it can go through, or it can just continue downtrend again, right? So, but workday, like I say, something, I think their forecast revision or something, I can't remember, was guided down. So unfortunately, that's one of the stocks that didn't do well this week. Yeah, so that's tech stocks. I mean, there's some you know, consumer discretionary stocks and consumer retail stocks that are doing okay. Let's talk about, okay, these are pretty strong. ANF. So this one, you know, this has been a strong stock this year, and I miss it, and now it pulled back and it bounced. Look at that, it make new high. That's relative strength. Look at this, right? So this was another opportunity to get in, and if you did, it has a nice bounce. Celsius, this guy is hovering the 50-day line, looking for a bounce. AT&T, this guy is correcting, and again, is trying to bounce. Let's see, this is Chinese.edu. This is also relatively, you know, strength-wise really strong. Look at it, it already make a new high on this week. Very strong. So ELF, another leader, it's trying to bounce back right now, but because of last week's drop, you know, again, you draw a downtrend line right here and see whether you can pass it, and on Friday it reversed after it hit that line. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. 200 days is not far away. It could test 200 day, who knows. Let's see how that goes. HLT, Lulu has been basing for a while now. You see, this is a nice long base. It came out and then it fell back, but this is normal, I think. Half, you know, IBD research show half the stocks that break out will come back to near their pivot or slightly below it, and here we are. So now hopefully we can see it can bounce from here. So, but it hasn't yet. So Marriott, MMYT Miniso is probably one of the strongest stock in retail. And again, it pulled back after this run right here, and now it's trying to find support. So let's see if it will. I did add to it, to my position. It did find support here, short-term 10-day, 21-day area. We need to break out this zone, and then that will probably be a better risk rewards area, like to buy as well. Yeah, so or you can break down to 50-day and then bounce. Those are a few things that can happen, but overall this stock is showing lots of strength still. And look at all this giant volume here, right? I don't think those volume buys in and gets out so quick, right? This is institution buying, and so probably there's still more room to run, I think, if the rally can continue. Let's see what else. Race, RCL, Ross, SKX. SKX is doing pretty good right now. It's bouncing. You still need to see it above 50-day. Yeah, Uber. Let's look at Uber. Yeah, it's bouncing right now. It's a tight base, so again, this one has a slightly better relative strength because it has a new high already, and you can see it here as a blue dot, meaning it's performing much better than the market. Industrials, there's AVAV, PLBD, FDX, FLS, HQY, Hub, Current, ITT, PCAR, PAL. Yeah, they're not as strong, the industrial area. And then there's some bouncing on the health side. Again, not too strong. We have, again, the oil stocks we already talked about. They're showing signs of topping. So that's something probably, like I said, I'll probably take some profit this week. And then the financials, there's not too many showing strength. Here are the ones: AIG, CRBG, Futu. This is Chinese stock. The Chinese stocks are kind of, like I said, been very volatile, but overall they've been holding pattern. Not a bad thing, right? Especially like stocks that already make new high recently, now it's just holding, right? Yeah, but IBKR I think broke down this week. Let me see. Yeah, see, it made new low. So even I think even JP Morgan too. So the financial area is definitely weaker than I like it to be, like especially on the growth side. So I don't know what that means, but it's not showing strength at all. Those are the two that I usually follow. There's some, like I said, there's probably some insurance guys like Goosehead. Those guys, even those guys give back some this week. It's not a bad thing. Look at this. It's only giving back on lower volume. So some of the defensive area like insurance may still do okay, especially if we still have volatility the next week or two. Anyhow, that's pretty much it for this week. Have a good week, everyone.